Hello, friends. Welcome to this latest episode of 5 Minutes, please. Bus Panj Minute. And in the past few episodes, we have been talking only about politics. So, why not move away from politics and move to sports? Sports, because we are heading for Olympics. And it's just little more than 3 months left for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games to start. And very interestingly, a couple of days ago, the Olympic torch, was lit at the place from where the modern Olympics started in Athens, in Greece. The torch will now move to different parts of Europe and other parts of the world, and before it reaches Paris in July, in time for the opening ceremony. And Paris will become a city that has played host to Olympic Games 3 times. You must remember that it was in 1900 when the second Olympic Games were held in Paris. Since then, Paris held 1924 Olympic Games. And now, 100 years after 1924 Olympic Games, Paris will be hosting 2024 Olympic Games. So 3 Olympic Games in the City of Lights, Paris, and now the world is focused on Paris. And after the torch was lit on 16th of April, a lot of things are being said and written about Paris Olympic Games because they are going to be very unique games. Many of you may be knowing or may not be knowing that in 1900, when the second Olympic Games were held in Paris, women were allowed to compete. Before that, women were not allowed to compete. And now, when 2024 Olympic Games are being held, of the total participants, 50% will be women. So women have won a long battle of equal representation in Olympic Games. From a few women in Paris, now the total participants will be equally divided among men and women. So Paris will mark a new chapter in the history of Olympic Games. And it's very interesting also in other ways. When in 1900 Paris Olympic Games were held, there were no medals. The winners were awarded cups and trophies. And there were no qualification marks. So anybody would come and compete in the Olympic Games, provided he or she had the abilities to compete in the games. So in 1900, when cups and trophies were presented and the medals started much later. So in Paris, the first woman Olympic medalist was a tennis player. Do you remember? She was Charlotte Cooper. She was a Wimbledon champion. She was a woman champion of 1900 Paris Olympic Games. So tennis was there in 1900 Olympic Games. Subsequently, it was taken out of Olympics, and then there was a tussle in IOC. You must remember that only amateurs, those who don't take money for competing in sports, were allowed to compete in Olympics. And then gradually, professionals like tennis players who played professional circuits, and similarly basketball team, the America's Magic team, they were allowed to compete only after the changes were made and professionals were allowed into Olympic Games. So 1900, Charlotte Cooper became the first woman Olympic medalist, and since then the games have moved on and on and on. Now in Paris 2024, the world will assemble and see the new champions emerging. In between, when in 1924 games were held in Paris, there were only 39 or 40 nations. Initially, you may also it may fascinate you to know that those days there were no aircraft. The teams, the contingents would travel to the venue of Olympics by ships or boats. So some of the teams took months to travel to Olympic venues. And also, some of the events, like in 1900 Olympic Games, the Olympics were spread over a period of 4 months, 5 months, because some events would continue. And ultimately, when they decided whether it would take for 4 months, 5 months. And I had a chance to visit the place from where this time the Olympic torch was lit in Greece, the birthplace of ancient Olympic Games. It was there in when Olympics were revived in 1896. The shot put event was held in 2004 Athens Olympic Games. I had a chance to go there, visit that place, and bow my head, pay my respect to the venue of the modern Olympic Games. And that place is enormous. It's awesome place. There's so many museums there, and that same track, though it's all green, is preserved as like though there is no structure there at the venue of the original, the first 1896 Olympic Games, but you could still get a feel where the modern Olympics began. So now, this time when Olympics are held in Paris, invitations were sent out about a year ago. So with Russia, Belarusia, and Guatemala were not sent any official invitation. So there will be an Olympic refugee team and athletes from these countries who are no more members of IOC because of various reasons, political reasons. For example, Russia and Belarus for war in Ukraine, and Guatemala also for human rights violations. So there'll be a unified Olympic refugee team, and all other nations will compete in Paris from like last week of July. And then these games will be followed by Paralympic Games. So all set on Olympic Games, and we will have more of Olympic Games in coming episodes. So I thought I must revive your sporting memories and put you back on track for Olympics, which are just 3 months away. So this much for this episode. Next time I'll come up with another subject. Till then, goodbye. Stay happy, stay fresh, and stay cool. Bye.